Hart, I know that you've talked to over 2,000 landlords in regards to what their wants, needs, struggles are. So I actually really want to hear from you, and I want to know what you've learned from all of these landlords.
It was almost 5 years ago now that we started Rent Panda, and I started the business with my brother, who had moved up to Thunder Bay and had a bad renting experience. And by having a bad renting experience, he came to me as a trusted brother. And I was in Toronto at the time, and I had had some bad renting experiences too, and just tough times finding rentals. And we thought that there should be a better way to rent. So we started to build a listings platform, but right away we knew that we had to talk to landlords because we were just a focus group of two, and our ideas were just that. They were just ideas and not true facts that we were getting from the marketplace. And we've talked with over 2,000 landlords and really dissected the entire rental experience. And so there are things that can make your life easier if you're a first-time real estate investor, first-time landlord, or you've been doing it for 5, 10, 15 years, but maybe just doing it in a more old school kind of way and maybe less digitally savvy.
What's going on, YouTube? It's Rebecca Lynn Matheson, aka the Canadian Cottage Girl here. Welcome to the Canadian Real Estate Channel, and I'm very excited to be interviewing today Hart from Rent Panda. Now, Hart actually started this company called Rent Panda, and he, as a real estate investor himself, was trying to solve the problems of landlords. So in doing that, Hart, I know that you've talked to over 2,000 landlords in regards to what their wants, needs, struggles are. So I actually really want to hear from you, and I want to know what you've learned from all of these landlords. Talking to them, dealing with them, helping them out both in person and through your platform. I want to know what you've learned from all of this. So before we get into that discussion today, make sure that you like and subscribe to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. If you're enjoying this video, smash the like button. It really helps us out, and it really feeds the algorithm at the end of the day. So make sure that you throw us some love by smashing that like button, smashing the subscribe button, and throwing us some love in the comment section below. So Hart, welcome to the channel.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. So here's my burning question. So you have dealt with a ton of landlords. First of all, I want to hear, just again to reiterate for those listening and watching today's video, is kind of your starting story of this company, Rent Panda. And then I would love to hear what you've actually learned from these landlords, because I know that you've dealt with a lot of landlords over the years. You've been a landlord yourself. So that is my question for you, is just what have you learned from them? So let's start with your story, how you built the company, and then let's get right into that topic.
So it was almost 5 years ago now that we started Rent Panda, and I started the business with my brother, who had moved up to Thunder Bay and had a bad renting experience. And by having a bad renting experience, he came to me as a trusted brother. And I was in Toronto at the time, and I had had some bad renting experiences too, and just tough times finding rentals. And we thought that there should be a better way to rent. And we were posting on platforms like Cottage and Facebook and the typical marketplaces, but we really found that there was a lot of holes in the system. So we started to build a listings platform, but right away we knew that we had to talk to landlords because we were just a focus group of two, and our ideas were just that. They were just ideas and not true facts that we were getting from the marketplace. And so we were actually giving away free real estate photography to every single landlord who would list on Rent Panda, completely for free, the listing and the photos, in order to speak with them about what their pain points were. And like I said, we've done this for about 3.5 years with the free photography, and we've talked with over 2,000 landlords and really dissected the entire rental experience, so that on Rent Panda, we've built all of the tools that you need to go from listing all the way through to lease. So you can post properties, message tenants, view profiles before booking showings, actually have an online showing scheduling tool so you don't have to go off platform. You can screen tenants with background checks and credit checks right on the platform, and then actually build your Ontario standard lease and sign it on platform. And all of that was really a factor of speaking with 2,000 landlords and hearing about all their pain points and all the things they wished existed to make their lives easier. And so there are things that can make your life easier if you're a first-time real estate investor, a first-time landlord, or you've been doing it for 5, 10, 15 years, but maybe just doing it in a more old school kind of way and maybe less digitally savvy.
Absolutely. Well, I can appreciate that. And guys, make sure that you actually check out the full kind of, I guess, tutorial style video at the end of the day where you fully take me through the platform. So guys, this was my first time on the platform. Hart actually showed me start to finish what it would be like as the landlord to go from having a property that you want to send out to tenants to actually leasing that out and what that process is like. So we'll make sure that we link that video for you guys so that you can actually hop over to that one and see what the platform's all about. But it really is similar to that experience on Airbnb or that experience on Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji. I can really tell how having those conversations has led to the integrations that you've created on this platform and on the website. So guys, make sure that you hop over to that if you're curious. But Hart, I really want to dive a little bit deeper into this topic with you. And you mentioned there that you had actually gone through, talked to over 2,000 landlords. So what were some of the main pain points that they had? Like what were some of the experiences that kept coming up?
It's a good question. And I'd say first and foremost is not even a specific problem that keeps coming up, but the consistency of problems coming up for new investors was one key thing that we heard time and time again. And really it distilled down to the fact that a lot of landlords get out there, maybe they've fallen into a rental property or they think that it's super sexy to get into real estate and they want to try it out. And so they've got some money for a down payment, they've saved up and they buy their first rental property. And it's a lot of work to buy that property and they forget about the finding a tenant and managing it part. And so really after seeing all of the trials and tribulations landlords have gone through at the start of their journey, it really honed in on this one point where we would advise everyone to build a network around them. And that's, getting a coach or joining specific groups or real estate investor meetup groups to really build a network around yourself of those people who have done it before you. And whether it's, someone that's talked to 2,000 landlords or someone that's bought 2 or 3 investment properties before them, or, an official coach that you're going to pay for because this is a journey that you want to go down and invest in. That's really the first step to take to avoid making all of those mistakes. And those mistakes can be really costly sometimes. Putting a bad tenant in your place can cost you tens of thousands of dollars. Getting the wrong trades in the door can cost you tens of thousands of dollars. And investing in those people who can educate you is really, really important. So get a coach, build your network. That's the first thing. You don't need to do it alone. That's kind of the ultimate underlying fact that we saw when we spoke to so many landlords.
Yeah, now one of the things that you actually mentioned as well previously is that you call every single landlord that signs up to the platform to verify them as a landlord, make sure that the properties that they have are actually theirs. So not only have you gone through in the setup of this company interacting with landlords, but it's something that you do every single time somebody signs up to the platform. So that is actually fantastic that you do that because you get to learn who is actually on the platform. So how many do you actually have on the platform now?
So we've got about 2,500-ish landlords on the platform, tons of properties all over Ontario. We just are Ontario specific right now, but we just launched across Ontario in October. So 6 months, we've got a good following through. And really, it's about educating landlords that there are tools at every step of the way. And that's kind of another thing that we've learned from landlords after talking to them so much is that they don't really realize that there are digital tools out there that they can invest in. And there's free tools and there's paid tools. But a lot of landlords make the mistake of assuming there are just marketplaces to list their rental. There's Kijiji, there's Facebook Marketplace, there's PadMapper, there's rentals.ca. There's a lot of marketplaces that are out there. And because of that, I think landlords think that that's the solution to finding a tenant. And really, that's just the element of marketing your property. It doesn't talk about, screening tenants. It doesn't talk about efficiently getting through the process of messaging people, dissecting what their profile looks like to see if they are a good fit for your property, what a good fit actually looks like. And so there's so many intricacies, and people really need to start looking at digital tools that are out there like Rent Panda that can take you from listing through to lease, and take the steps that you need to in order to protect yourself, to protect your investment, and to invest smartly. Because if you started a business just like you did, just like I did, you want to invest in that. You want to acknowledge that this is a money-making operation, and you want to do the best that you can, and it shouldn't be entered into in a casual kind of way.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of the other things that you mentioned there that I think is important to highlight is just actually getting a mentor and leveraging the knowledge of other people. So if you're a first-time investor, I know I'm actually currently sitting in my first big project here, which is a duplex in Cambridge. We have freshly painted walls right behind me, and painted hands. I think it is important for people who maybe don't have that knowledge or are just getting into it. As you mentioned, it could be really sexy to buy real estate and you get caught up in the mix. But then once you get down to the nitty gritty of it, there's certain elements that are very much not sexy. And one of the things that I actually love about something that you said prior to us hopping onto this video was like, you decided to take on all of the not sexy things about real estate investing, which is the landlording side of things and dealing with all of those tenant problems, setting up your listing and typing out a description. Like your service allows for that to be auto-populated so that it's super professional. The landlord is communicating everything that they need really effectively, and the tenant can see really easily what's being offered, and it's just all about communication, and you've set up that communication so that it's super easy. But to go back to the mentorship element of this, I think that's actually a really important point, is that through this platform you actually get to leverage all of the knowledge of all of the investors and landlords that you've talked to, because you put all of that knowledge into the platform. So as a young investor, as a new investor coming into this, getting into being a landlord, all of the problems that you could run into in sending out your property once it's ready to rent into the world, you've thought through all of those things. So it's a super, I would say, turnkey way to list your rental property for tenants to see. So I really appreciate that knowledge element of the platform for sure. So you mentioned, so that's one of the main things that you've learned from these landlords. What other really key pain points, or what were some of the things that you really took from those meetings, took from those interactions that you integrated into the platform and business?
Yeah, one of the biggest ones that you'll hear time and time again is that landlords don't know how to efficiently screen tenants. And screening of tenants is taken a lot of different ways. A lot of landlords think of screening as asking them questions on Facebook Marketplace. Other people think screening is just, that gut check that you get from someone when you do the showing. And then others think that it's just a credit check. And so screening is really how we've learned it, and if we built it into the system, is really from the point of listing your property all the way up until you ask your final question before you sign that lease. You are screening someone, and there's going to be different stages along the way. The first, as you mentioned, is writing a good description, because by actually writing a description that will attract your ideal tenant, you'll start that screening process, and you'll do it completely passively. And so by writing a description for your 2-bedroom home in Cambridge, you may start to gravitate towards young professionals or small new families or new immigrant families, or you can tailor that based on how you write that description. In the same way, you can ask some really key questions either before a showing or after a showing that can really dig deep into what a person is looking for in their home, what they'll be like as a tenant. And we have lots of resources on Rent Panda in terms of the questions that you should be asking. It's not just the platform itself. There's a lot of educational materials there too. And so the questions that you're asking are important. How to conduct a showing. A lot of landlords will just open a door and say, go look at the place and fill out the application when you're done. And learning how to conduct a showing so that you can do it in a way that actually gives you more information about that tenant, because seeing the whites of someone's eyes and talking to them is a really good way to screen if you have other elements too. And then, the final gut check is usually that credit check. But knowing that there are other digital tools out there, because credit isn't necessarily king. There's background checks, there's bank checks, there's ID verification, there's landlord references and employment references. There's a whole suite of things that you need in order to feel secure. And you need somewhere to go to access that type of information in a really reliable, transparent, and accountable way. And so that's what we're building into our platform. And if we don't have it ourselves, we're looking to bring partners to the table who can offer that. So also on the site, you'll see trusted partners, and we've got paralegals and mortgage brokers and insurance brokers and all the other tools that you need that Rent Panda doesn't have. We want to be there to help you along the way. And really it's about surrounding yourself with the right physical and digital tools to make those right decisions. But there's a lot of mistakes in that screening process specifically that landlords don't need to make anymore. They don't need to feel scared about placing a bad tenant in their property if they just follow a process that has been set out for them by many others before. Learn based on the mistakes of others, not yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that this is such an important point when it comes to the gut check, because it's not just a one interaction gut check. It isn't a full gut check from the start to the finish that is important to go through. It's kind of like dating someone or getting onto starting a new job or being the employer of somebody that's coming onto a new job. Normally those things, you have a little bit of a period of time to get to know that person. You go on a couple of dates and then you can get your gut check, in order, or you start working at a place for a month or two and then you decide if you like it. With a tenant, you don't get that. Like you get to meet them ahead of time and then they're in your house. But once they're in your house, it's very hard to get them out if you've already signed the lease. So you don't get a few dates to figure it out, or you don't get a few months of probationary period to figure it out. So I think that this is actually such an important process that a lot of people don't understand, and it can be very simple if you know what you're doing. But if you don't, and this is not something that is taught in school, you don't learn how to be a landlord, you don't learn how to be a good tenant, none of these things, it's all just, the information's there, but you have to seek it out in order to actually learn it. And with a platform like this, it's all accessible, but you still, as the new landlord, have to seek stuff like this out. So it is so important for people like Hart to be available. And guys, I'm encouraging you guys to use these resources that are provided, because you do not want to get into that situation where you could have backed out of that tenant landlord interaction in that early phase, and it's too late. The ring's on the finger, you're going down the aisle. It's too late once the paperwork is signed and they're in your house. So make sure that you actually go through the full process of checking the person out and meeting them and interacting with them, and just make sure that it is actually the right fit.
Yeah, and that's a perfect point about dating. It is a love triangle of sorts. You've got your property, you got yourself as a landlord, and then the tenant, and they all need to mesh. And kind of the third main point that we've learned from people is that landlords typically think that landlording is a DIY process. Like you have, paint on your hands from painting your own place. It is a DIY process, but there is an option to go the expert route. And I would say, if you're a first-time landlord, or you're a landlord that's gotten too busy or gotten out of the game, there are experts out there. And so when in doubt, if you don't want to invest in digital tools for yourself, if you don't want to get a coach and do it all yourself, there are experts out there, whether it's paralegal experts, leasing experts, property management experts. They're all out there. You just need to seek a little bit harder to find them. And so some of them are on Rent Panda, some of them you have to seek out on your own. But if at any point you feel out of depth, I would say to all the landlords out there, just stop, take a minute, talk to people around you, and try and find an expert to guide you through it. So even if you have a coach, go to that coach and find out who the best paralegal is, who the best leasing specialist is, and then do your due diligence on them and have them, relinquish some control to them so that you can go back to being, a savvy real estate investor and not necessarily a screening expert or not necessarily a paralegal representing yourself at the LTB. So there are options out there.
Absolutely. I think this is one of those slow is smooth and smooth is fast moments. Take the time required. This is one of the most important parts, is getting the right fit into that property. Well, Hart, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge bombs with us after talking to over 2,000 landlords and then some, and dealing with several more thousand properties, I'm sure, because most landlords become serial landlords, so they probably have more than one. But Hart, I really do appreciate you coming on to the channel today. And guys, make sure you check out all of the other videos from Hart from Rent Panda. He has definitely some incredible knowledge when it comes to renting, leasing, and really understanding the full scope of being a landlord. So make sure you check out that content. And as always, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and throw some love in the comment section below. Hart, where's the best place for people to find you?
Rentpanda.ca, right on the shirt.
Love it. Awesome, guys. Check it out, rentpanda.ca. Hart, thanks again for coming onto the channel. And guys, we will see you on the next one. Peace.